Dr. Heiko Müller is founder and managing partner of Conjugere, where he advises organization of strategy, AI enablement, and structural transformation. So this is a keynote for everyone who is thinking not just about what to train, but about whether the whole model shifts itself. So let's welcome Heiko Müller on stage. Welcome, Heiko.
Thank you, Sabine, and glad to be here in Vienna. I like the atmosphere, I like the open discussion we're having, and I hope I can give you a new perspective, as Sabine said, right before the lunch break. Let me start very personally. For me, AI is not just something of interest. I feel we are currently experiencing a completely new decade of technology. And we've seen various examples in the previous keynotes. I would like to draw your attention more to what does it mean if we have this kind of technology now at place or handy? What does it mean for the organization itself? And I'm truly convinced leadership in the AI era, when the operating logic shifts, we also need to see what it takes or what it means for the competencies we need. I work closely together with executive teams, and I work closely with Health Academy to shape the leadership of tomorrow and to make sure that we're not adding more Neanderthalers, but more AI native people who can drive the organization. So, having said this, let's see how we look into today. I would like to explore 3 shifts with you in order to set the stage. What I see is that we are going away from single tools. Obviously, we've seen various tools already, but I see a strong shift from single tools to a more operating logic. I also see that we have less single decisions, and we are more moving towards decision systems. And last but not least, what does it mean for leadership? I'm truly convinced that we also see a shift from pure management to much more designing organizations itself. So we are reinventing somehow how organizations work. And I'm truly convinced these 3 shifts are something that leaders should understand. I would like to take you back to a journey, back to 1995. It's not too long ago, right? Roughly 30 years. I recall at this point in time I was studying abroad and I had the first touch points to the internet. So I was experiencing not to use expensive phone calls to call back home, but to use the internet. I was quite pleased to have the email technology. If we look back like 30 years ago, it looks close, but from a technological point of view, it's quite a distance. So what we've seen during the last 30 years, the internet was changing the way we're interacting, we're looking for information, we're working, right? And I'd like to draw your attention to this. I have a little video for you. We'll see how Bill Gates, back then in 1995, was explaining the internet thing. He was invited to the evening show at Dave Letterman, and I would like to invite you to look into the video and look how it feels, right? Now, 30 years ago, we know what came out of the internet, but try to sense how it feels today to look back in time when we look into the internet. Let's get started. Here we see it. Bill Gates explains the internet to Dave.
Well, it's become a place where people are publishing information.
Right.
So everybody can have their own homepage, companies are there, the latest information. It's wild what's going on. You can send electronic mail to people. It is the big new thing.
Yeah, but it's easy to criticize something you don't fully understand, which is my position here.
Go ahead.
But I can remember A couple of months ago, there was like a big breakthrough announcement that on the internet or on some computer deal, they were going to broadcast a baseball game. You could listen to a baseball game on your computer. And I just thought to myself, does radio ring a bell? You know what I mean? It's just...
There's a difference.
There is a difference.
It's not a huge difference.
What is the difference?
But you can listen to the baseball game whenever you want.
All right.
Too.
Oh, I see. So it's stored in one of your memory deals,
Exactly.
and then you can come
That's
back
the
a year
RAM
later.
thing you talked about earlier.
Yeah. Do tape recorders ring a bell?
It's almost a little bit uncomfortable, right? It feels weird what we are seeing here, and we're laughing because we see what came out of the internet, right? It looks more like a technical curiosity, but indeed it was a technological shift. It was a base technology introduced to us, right? And this is exactly what I feel we're coming close to now with AI, right? We also see some kind of curiosity or some kind of technology, but what's behind, that's the interesting part. So I feel we're at a very similar moment. We're looking at AI, but with an important difference. And the difference from my point of view is AI is not just a tool shift. It's not about tools. We've seen tools, and I'm not saying that's wrong, but there's more behind, right? Because these tools are shifting the operating logic in organizations, in particular if we're looking into larger organizations. So AI is not about only efficiency. That's the first part. It's not only about automation. It's much more. And that's where I would like to draw your attention. Now you might say, that's too generic for me. So let me give you an example. We've seen AI agents earlier on this morning, and the example I would like to share with you is from a medium-sized company where they were also trying to work or introducing AI from experimenting to an AI agent. And at some point in time, they introduced an agent for their procurement with clear guardrails, like €200 max per day, and a clear list of suppliers. Everything was working perfectly. We had like 300 decisions a day. Everything worked perfectly. No errors, no complaints. Perfect. However, on day 47, a perfectly valid decision came from the system, and a real problem arose. So what was happening? The machine was approving a supplier or was approving, and what was behind was it was approving a process from a from a company that was cited for environmental issues earlier on. So it was a cleaning chemical, and the producer was cited just recently for environmental issues. The execution was perfectly fine. The reputational damage was real. The press found out, and it was a real damage. So the question is, who decided? Who decided this order that led to a reputational damage? Was it the CEO asking for more transformation? Was it the CTO asking for more AI? Was it the project lead to introduce the system? Was it the supplier itself or the service provider? I would say no one did. Why that? Because the biggest constraint is rarely the technology. The technology was working perfectly. The technology worked like it was said to do, right? The constraint we're seeing is the organization as such. It's not the technology. So when we usually look into this, it's like to have better tools, better models, better systems, but the constraint is indeed the organization as such. Why that? Because autonomous decisions need organizational architecture. What I mean with that, the decisions are no longer happen in one place. They're happening along a journey, right? We got some data, we have AI looking into this, then we have a kind of recommendation, we have the human in the loop, and then finally we have a decision. So it's a long journey, right? It's not happening in department A or B or Heiko decided. It's a journey, right? And this is what we need to look into. It's a distributed system across, or the decisions are distributed across systems, roles, and the organization as such. When we now look what is behind, I see like 4 levels of applying AI. The first level, that's what I guess everybody here is using. We use AI to support our business, right? I can suddenly summarize like a 500-page report, and it's at my fingertips. So AI supports me, right? Level 2, it's a bit more, right? I get recommendations, and then I can validate. That's a bit more. Then on level 3, that's exactly what we've seen in the example. AI decides within rules. Exactly the procurement example we've seen just now. And then on level 4, it's getting really interesting, because there we have a close iteration between the humans and the AI. So what does it mean now for us in the organization or for leadership teams? The human control is decreasing from level 1 to level 4, right? On level 1, I have everything under control. Level 4, I have less. And at the same time, the system design is increasing. Having said this, looking into organizations I'm working with, most organizations are on the left-hand side. They're on level 1 and level 2. They're using AI to support, to get some kind of recommendations. So AI is being explored. And that's perfectly fine. It's not a valuation. It's more like a journey. The real problem is on the right-hand side, because there we're coming to level 3 and 4, when AI is deciding or AI is acting autonomously. Then AI becomes an organizational issue. And that's where it's getting interesting. If we see this kind of journey, we need to make sure that leadership is following this change. So the changes for leadership are fundamentally like traditional leadership, let's call it like this. It's about making decisions, controlling, executing, managing people. And that's perfectly valid. However, going forward, leadership is more designed towards designing the decision system and creating guardrails that next time the cited supplier will not be approved, right? So we think more in terms of decision systems. And we need to make sure that we're designing the collaboration between humans and AI. So leadership is not only about making decisions, that's still valid, but less. Going forward, it's more like designing the system and producing the results. What does it mean now? What does this shift now mean for capabilities? Obviously, we need some kind of technical know-how to operate the system. However, on a leadership level, I see 3 clear capabilities that are emerging. And we've heard this also during the morning. It's more about the outcome clarity. Where are we heading to? Can I, as a leader, clearly define where we're heading to and communicate this also to the audience, to my team? So defining the success and less the tasks. Second part, trust architecture. We need to make sure that the team is adapting the technology. Therefore, trust is key. And we need to make sure on a leadership level to enable the people to use it and to make them trust the system. So it's more about design, the autonomy with guardrails and to make sure that we are taking the team with us. And that's exactly leading to number 3, adoption leadership. It is key to make people co-design or take them on the journey, not only from a trust perspective, but also from a social perspective, to make sure that they are adapting the new system. So in general, what we are seeing is leadership is less about giving the right answers. It's about managing tensions. Obviously, we want to have speed. We've seen so many examples this morning how quickly things can go on a fingertip with AI. However, we also want to have some kind of control. Look at the procurement example. We want to take advantage of the data we now have in our organization. At the same time, we might want to listen to our gut feeling and have some kind of judgment. We want to have automation, but at the same time, we want to have accountability. So leadership is not about giving the right answer, but to manage these kind of tensions across the organization. So what does it mean now for the competencies? It's moving, the competencies must follow this shift. It's from experience, controlling, and giving the right answers, much more to judgment, trust design, and decision architecture, and also to cope with ambiguity we are seeing all over the place, to make sure that we're not having the right answer, but to see action A can lead to A, B, or C, and to manage this kind of tension. So the question is, are we still developing leaders for the past? This leads perfectly to the example of the Neanderthalers. And I feel it is valid to have decision-making, controlling experience, but the system has changed, and we need to follow this change. Therefore, it's not only about skills. Skills are still valid, but it's about the architecture we need to have on our radar screen. It's about the real shift in decision architecture, competence architecture, and learning architecture. That's where we are heading to. So leadership becomes an organizational design topic. So the real question is not who decides, if we're coming back to my previous example, who was deciding for the order on the procurement example. The real question is much more, who designs the system that decides? And with this, I would like to open the floor. Let's continue the conversation. I hope I was able to give you some new perspectives on what it means to have AI in the organizations and what it means for decision making and leadership. Thank you.
Wow. Good that I'm a behavioral designer, huh? I thought like... There are some questions. Do we have? One, okay. Good. What to choose? Hopefully you're not angry with me that I choose that one. What are the first 3 steps for HR to lead the leadership transformation in an organization? AI tool is already available. That was in question mark, also in brackets. So what are the first 3 steps for HR to lead the leadership transformation in an organization?
I would rather rephrase the question. So where is, when I talk to executive teams, I like to start with where is AI, let's say, or how do you organize it? And what I then see is, yeah, there's a little bit in HR, and IT is also doing something, and yeah, the leadership team also, but we have lots of use cases. So why I'm saying this, I feel it is so important to define jointly the North Star. So what's the meaning for an organization to do AI? Is it to become more efficient? Is it to look closer into how AI might affect the business model? What's going on? Only once we have clarity on the North Star, then I can make it handleable and make it clear also what it means for the leadership team. For me, it's a joint decision where we need all the stakeholders on the floor.
Thank you very much.
But then, if I may be more precise, for me, on the HR level, it's about obviously competencies that need to be checked, but also the structure. What's the organizational structure? How do processes, roles, and responsibilities work? I see that classical org charts are losing or going down on importance, losing importance. While if we look into AI, it's more like a social map, because I see lots of very energetic young guys who are driving AI pilots, so they almost have more power than the seniors. So I feel it's important to level this out. So.
Thank you very much, Heiko. Thank you.
you.
We see you later on the panel.
Yes.
Looking forward to.
Thank you.